Can you hear my music?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
It's nice music. I was listening to this Chinese music today in the morning.
Oh, yeah?
This guy is singing in Mandarin.
It's about time. TCTV 1, USA.
The pitch of how he's singing, because you can't understand anything he's singing.
They say music is a universal language. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is TCTV 1 USA. And the Tony Shira Show. My name is Tony Shira, and I am hanging out with a gentleman. This man, you guy, I don't even know what to tell you. We're going to have him for a very, very short time. He's very, very busy. He works across the whole entire county or something like that. He's going to tell us. But ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Let's welcome my guest today. And let me allow him to introduce himself to us. Kaka, vipi?
Poa sana.
Karibu sana TCTV 1 USA and the Tony Shira Studios.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we've talked about having a conversation sometime, and it's taken you so long, man, to make it to the studio.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you plan stuff, actually, you might end up not even doing it.
All right, so
Yeah.
let me use this opportunity to ask you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Yeah, my name is Musa Wasike, and most people know me actually here around Seattle because I do taxes for people.
Right.
Like I'm a tax preparer.
Not the tax man. You're not Zakayo.
No, I'm not Zakayo. I just help them to be right with the
Right.
government, you know,
Right.
because tax is a really complex system and it's a really broad subject.
Right.
That if we started talking about it, we'll never be able to finish in a 15-minute
sitting.
segment. Apart from that, I also work for King County Transit. I'm a transit supervisor. And
Right.
there are so many Kenyans who work for the transit.
Oh, yeah?
And,
Is that so?
Yeah, like we have so many Kenyans in different departments. And what people don't understand is they think like transit is like matatu back home. No, transit is really wide, and that's a government job, with permanent and pensionable, very good benefits, very good insurance.
Permanent and pensionable. You know, you just
yeah.
talked about permanent and pensionable, and I remembered in Jamhuri,
Yeah.
CS Moses Kuria is moving a motion to a policy statement to scrap off the permanent and pensionable
pensionable.
thing and put everybody on contract. What do you think about that?
I think that's not a good move for a third world country. Because in third world country, you need something to motivate people to do something sometimes. And the government employees, they get paid not so much money in Kenya.
Well, I worked for government for 7 years, and I can tell you at the time that I joined government, what I was earning, man, I can't even discuss here.
That's what I'm saying. So these people, whatever keeps them there is the idea that this job is permanent. And at the end of the day, when I retire, it will be pensionable.
Yeah, but it's exerting a weight on the government in terms of the wage bill.
It's just wastage. I mean, that's what's going on with the Kenyan government. Kenyan government is very rich, and the country is very self-sustaining.
But how is it rich and people are not paying taxes in Kenya?
I mean,
Everybody is evading taxes. Everybody has an excuse to not pay taxes.
it's the tax system. The way the tax system is implemented down there is the wrong way, because let's say, like, for example, in the US, if I come here and say, hey, I want to buy this cup, they'll say this cup is worth $4 plus tax. So whenever they tell you the price of something, that's not exactly the price. It's the price that you're paying to me, $4. But the government tax, once we key in the machine, it determines, right?
Right.
So if the government, I don't know if that's something that can be done
Isn't
in the
that,
Kenyan government.
I don't know, but I've heard about the e-teams, which they're introducing now to
Yeah.
try and have everybody declare every amount of tax that is due. Like if I sell you this cup, I have an e-teams in my shop.
Yeah,
So if I sell you this cup,
yeah.
that transaction has to be reflected on the e-teams. And therefore the tax that is due to that cup is...
It's reflected.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way of doing it. But first of all, with the Kenyan government or the Kenyan system, we have to start these things from below. We can't start telling grown men and women that this is how to live. They know their way of life, how they've been living. So maybe they need to introduce it to the younger generation and tell them like, hey, we need honesty. Like people need to be honest in providing services to the government, and they need to also find value in that. Because I also worked in Kenya, and I know how the system used to work. And because there's motivation for other things, and people are motivated to do things on the backside, I can call it like it's called black market, than doing it on the right way. And this starts from the top, I can say.
Right.
So if we started by the school system, the children, young children, being taught the values of being honest, and then we have a society that grows up as an honest society, maybe we can eliminate this thing in the long run.
So I hear what you're saying. And the conflict that I have with that is because we got to a point where we started teaching being smart, quote unquote. And being smart is just basically cutting shortcuts, like cutting the line and getting through the shortcut. And so people started cheating in exams. It's just a way of, like, instead of understanding the lesson and the subject, you tega mtihani, you study the patterns and know the kind of questions that are asked, and you just focus on getting the answers for those questions. So you don't know the subject.
Past papers, revising past papers.
Yes. And that is something that has been taught like over and over again. Well, in the end, you're not exactly dishonest, but they say you're being smart. And that, of course, extended to every other sector, because if then there's a way that you can cut...
Shortcut.
You can always find an easier way out in everywhere. So when it comes to selling items, if I have to pay taxes, if I sell you through the black market or the back door, then, you get the item cheaper. So where does this honesty story begin, and how do we inculcate it in society?
So we have to make maybe the burden of cutting corners be really costly. Like how they do it in other countries. Each country is like, if you caught with corruption case, what happens? And then we don't have to motivate people that we want you only to pass the test, but we want them to understand the concept. If we inculcated that, like understanding the concept is more important than just the grades you are getting. And maybe, just like here in the US, what they could have done, like you carry your grades all along. I remember in college, when we reached campus first year, then when we were going to second year, we were told, oh, your grades count from first year. You just carrying them until you graduate. Then it became serious. We're like, oh, it's not like it's just first year, that's done. Second year, that's over. No, now they started teaching concept, right? And I think that's maybe what needs to be done in society as a whole. And one thing that people don't understand, Africa, I'll say, most 80% of Africa is rural. That's one thing that people need to know. 80% of Africa is rural. Rural education is very important. And if we made the rural folks understand the idea of honesty, mostly people who live in rural areas know their neighbors so much.
Bro, that same rural space that you're talking about is the same rural space that has most Christians, because a lot of people in the rural areas are poor. And Christianity seems to have a good foothold in areas that are poor. Doesn't Christianity then also speak about honesty and all these things? Where is the disconnect?
I mean, now when you
where
go
does
to,
the rain start beating?
I mean, when you go to matter of Christianity, also that's a really broad subject, because they normally say religion is the opium of the masses, right? So most rural is also Christian or religious. right? And they speak about honesty.
Yep.
But they don't shame people who are not being dishonest. That's the most important thing.
Isn't it because these guys are, I would say, the people that are to be shamed are those that have made it. And by that making it, like having the money, by that making it puts them on a pedestal that you revere them, kind of. You don't want to shame someone that you're likely to wake up to the next day to ask for
something. And that's the main problem, because this person is rich or has made it. How did they make it? Like, I was watching...
By being smart.
No,
they cheated their way.
I was watching on Facebook. This guy is an MP. I'm from Western Kenya.
Right.
And this guy is an MP from Western Kenya. First time.
Right.
He's built this massive compound.
Yeah.
And he's saying how he's building houses for his brothers and all that. And I'm like, I earn more money than an MP.
Yeah.
Or I make more money than an MP. I mean, that's a fact here in the US, right?
Yeah.
But I can't do whatever that guy is doing. So I'm like, if this guy is doing all this, where's he getting the money from? But the problem now comes, the people in the village or the people around him think that now that is the way to go. That's being smart.
You see, the people in the village have no idea where you're getting your money, right? That is number one. And if you get that money, they already take their position below there to kind of worship you.
That's true.
Right? I listened to a conversation between Kibe and Sonko.
Or the other day.
When Sonko was saying that he was offered 50 million.
Every day.
On a daily, bro.
Yeah. See?
On a daily. He could be getting 50 million on a daily.
Who was giving him? And were they getting the money from?
The Kanjo, getting from the people through the backdoor biasharas, all these things that we're talking about. So if to the person who sees Sonko, if, for instance, I'm just saying, if in the event that he accepted to be taking the 50 million daily, and multiply that by
30 days,
47 counties, okay? And, well, give or take, probably, maybe someone else could be getting 15 million and not 50. How much money is lost through that? And how do you make someone like that not even appear as a demigod to the community that they lead?
Okay, let me answer your question by asking you a question. Do you think we should legalize corruption in Kenya?
Legalize?
Yeah.
I think they should be put to the hangman's noose and sentenced to death.
The first thing that needs to happen, they need to legalize corruption. Let me explain how.
Yeah, you know my MP.
No, let me explain
hold on.
how.
Before you explain, my MP is Honorable Geoffrey Ruku from Mbeere North, and he's the one who actually came up with that motion in Parliament to legalize corruption.
Yeah.
But he tried to explain it, and to be honest with you, I've even had conversations with him, but I didn't quite understand it. So let me hear your version.
So this is how you legalize corruption. You show up at immigration house, Nyayo house. You want a passport in 2 hours? Pay 20,000. You get a passport in 2 hours. Instead of paying somebody through backdoor, and then they get your passport in 2 hours or 2 days, pay to the government. Let the government have an ITIN or that number that you pay. If you want a passport, like here in the US, if you want a passport same day and travel, you can get it, but you pay a premium.
But that is not corruption.
That's
corruption in its own.
That's legalizing. No, that's legalizing. Like, if you can pay the price, pay it. That's why you fly a plane. You can fly coach. You can fly first class. I mean, I'm saying that the way we provide services, you go to a hospital. You want to be treated, to be seen first. Your insurance, the insurance company that you pay very high premiums. When the doctors see your insurance card, they know that, when we bill this insurance company, we're going to get our money. If you go with an NHIF card, maybe you might have to wait a little bit. It doesn't mean that NHIF is bad. It's really good, and it has helped so many people. But what I'm saying is, if people are willing to pay premium, let them pay premium to the government. But now, on the flip side, the people in government need to be held accountable. Like, how are they now using those funds?
Fine, we can get to that at some point, but then, I mean, the corruption, the way I know the meaning of that word, goes all the way to the 50 bob that Kange gives to the traffic cop so that he pitas. So when you say legalize corruption in the manner that you said, if the guy has a faulty car and he wants to pass through the traffic check, he pays for it.
He doesn't have to pay to the police officer. Like here.
No. I mean, listen, I'm just following you on the argument that you made. Yeah. If you legalize it, it means if you can pay a premium to jump the queue, you can pay a premium to drive a faulty car.
Do you pay premium to jump the queue at the airport?
Well, no. I mean, if
can you jump the queue at the airport?
No, you can't.
You can.
No, I'm saying if you're an express traveler, for example, I mean, you have privileges based on...
That means you are paying premium.
That's fine. Yeah. But I'm just putting you to task, like, to explain. If I have a faulty car and I know that is a checkpoint over there and I don't want to be inconvenienced, I can pay. So now I pay, regardless of the amount of money that is required, so I pay and get over that, then risk the lives for everybody else that is out there.
I mean, it depends with how fault the car is, but the incentive here that we are talking about is instead of you paying to an individual person, pay it to the right authority.
That right there, that checkpoint is the authority that I'm talking about here. I'm following you on the same thing that you said. So if that checkpoint is where, you know, everybody is supposed to pass their car, get checked, and then allowed to go, if you're faulty, would you just say that then it is okay, you can pay right there and then be allowed to pass?
I mean, it will depend on how faulty the car is. You know, like if the car maybe doesn't have insurance, I mean, that's something else. It needs to be put out. Like the driver needs to be given a ticket, and that ticket needs to go on their license that they can't maybe renew their... I mean, in Kenya, you don't renew the tabs, but maybe you can't get employed by somebody else unless you pay off your ticket. So that's an incentive, just like the expressway. You want to use the expressway? Pay. You don't want to use the expressway? Follow the traffic. I mean, that's legalizing corruption.
We're going to have this conversation. We can have this conversation for long, and I think we need to have a day to just discuss that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about transit, your other job.
Yeah.
You've been around the state. You've been around this county. How does Kenya compare with this place in as far as the transit system is concerned?
So here the transit is run by the government. I mean, the federal dollars are what pays the transit. We call them transit operators, right? And transit is a really big organization. It has like a general manager, somebody who is very senior. And the general manager is in charge of many other departments in the county. It's just like the county is kind of like, how do I say? Like Nairobi, let's say like we had Nairobi County and we had a Department of Transportation. That's Transit Department of Transportation. So the general manager is in charge of everybody down there. Then we have mid-level managers, right? Like superintendents, chiefs, supervisors, and then operators. And we have other support staff that are there. But there's no comparison with Kenya because here it's run by the federal government. The government is the one that runs the system. It's the one that buys the buses, the trains, the boats, the marine, and they're not owned by individuals. So there's no incentive like to make profit.
Right.
You know, and the government is the one that pays the people to run the transit system.
Okay.
And then the money that people pays to use the facilities is just like to maintain the facilities, to repair them and all that. But it's not pegged on like somebody wanting to make a profit out of it because you can't afford like the transit buses. You can't afford them. One transit bus is like $1 million. How would you pay $1 million just for one bus? And when you see them run around, they run around with like one person on board sometimes. Yeah, I mean, just one person, it's like an Uber, right? That's like late in the night.
Yeah.
But during the day, of course, they ferry a lot of people.
Yeah.
And many people actually depend on those, and they connect the whole county. If you want to move from here, from Kent, let's say, to Everett, the whole of King County, you can get a transit from here, go to Kent, get an express one, go to maybe Snohomish County or anywhere you want to go in the whole county. Just that it takes time sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's the most convenient way of travel, I can say, if you want to save on gas and just like even have time to just sit and reflect, and think, not think about traffic and things to do. And we have so many Kenyans who are employed there.
Right.
And it's a good job. 100. I mean, I know when I meet people, I tell them it's a 100,000 plus job.
Yeah, when you say there are many Kenyans who are working there, and I mean the story out here is that most of the Kenyans who are here just work in healthcare as caregivers.
No, I can say majority of Kenyans work in healthcare as caregivers, but we have also other Kenyans who work in many other fields. It's just that caregiving has been given a wider space, and most people know about it. And even the theory back home is that you're going to the US to do caregiving, right? Or to be a nurse or something.
So how do you get to someone that is out there, Kenyans who are out here already, who probably would like to change their career and get into some of these other sectors other than caregiving? Like, how do you tell them? How do you begin to work for?
So, if somebody, caregiving actually is a really good job. You get money very fast. You should not confuse that. And you don't do much. You work in the morning and then you are seated the whole day. You work at lunchtime, maybe at evening. But these other jobs, you have to be constantly working.
Yeah.
But if somebody...
And we're not lazy anyway. I mean, I think for the most part, Kenyans are not lazy. They are used to working the whole time, So.
Yeah, so one thing I'll say, and I've seen this trend because I told you I do taxes. Most people who do care, you need like 2 jobs sometimes. And because of the pay, I don't know, or it's because of the motivation just to work, because somebody just wants to work, or I don't know, but these other jobs, like the other jobs that people do, they say like the transit. We have people who work in the banks. We have people who work in marine. We have people who work in electricians and stuff like that. Those are one job. Like actually when people come to transit, we tell them like, oh, welcome to a one job family.
Okay.
Like you have
that. You have enough.
That's $100,000+ a year job.
Right.
Will you really want to
You don't need
work
to stress
another
yourself.
job? No, you really don't. So
I saw a video yesterday, not to cut you short, but I saw a video yesterday of this guy. He's in America. He says he was in the forces. I don't know if you've seen it. He was in the army and he was
he's
deployed.
tired and he's going home.
He's going home. He said he has invested in like 3 houses and they have land. Yet he's still waking up at 4 a.m. to go to work. He's now feeling tired and now he wanna go back home. If you're making that kind of money, I mean, if you have 3 houses, I expect that that's an investment. It's paying you back. At some point, he said he used to earn $12,000 a month.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah,
I don't know how realistic that is.
Plus. I mean, it depends with the dynamics and the thinking of people. Maybe the guy is just lonely. He's not assimilating into the community. And also, if you know the Maslow's hierarchy, that hierarchy dynamic, is it called...
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
The hierarchy of needs. Like you need this, you reach a point, you've gotten it. Now you need the next one. You reach a point, you just want to keep going.
Until you self-actualize on the top.
You can never get self-actualized, actually, right? Like people who try to get self-actualized, they commit suicide,
Yeah, so with $100,000 job, you don't need another job. But
really
here you are, you're in that sector, yet you still have another job as a tax
That's what I'm saying.
Filing person.
That's what I'm saying. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
And I also know that you have another business, a home care business.
That's true. Yeah.
Tell us about all these things, man, and how do you How do you balance between all of these things and
mean,
still keep sane?
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. It's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like you got this, now your life expenses go up, right?
Okay.
Like, okay, I could live on like when I came to this country, I could live on a 20,000 maybe salary, right? And it reaches a point, even in a month, maybe you can't live on that. I mean, we bring these things to ourselves though. And then now you say, what else can I do to get
Level up.
And sometimes also how we've been how we've been I don't know the best word to use, but how we have mechanized ourselves, maybe let me use that word, to work many hours
Right.
here in the US. You kind of like want to be doing something. Your brain has been taught to a point whereby you know what vacation is. When I was in Kenya, I never knew what vacation is. I knew like I'll go to work, I'll go home. I never took a vacation actually because I never knew what it is because I was always off anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you go to work, but you're off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just walking around in the streets. But here, you show up to work, you're working. And then, when we came, the first times you're hustling, you're working maybe those 2 jobs or stuff like that. So you're kind of used to that. So your body is kind of like in a rush always. So for you to slow it down, it will take time.
Right.
Maybe you have to get really tired or stuff like
slow
that
down.
To really slow down.
Let me take you back to something that you said, like when you earn this, you shift your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I was in studio with one of the realtors, Anne Mwai, who is a diaspora realtor.
Yeah.
And she said that this is something that is affecting most of the Kenyans who are out here in the US, that you come here, you have some comfortable setting when you begin. Like you said, with your $20,000, you're fine.
Yeah.
But then slowly you realize you can work 2 jobs, then you're making more. Instead of continuing staying in the same place. She said she has her Honda CRV, I think, that she has had for like 12 years from the time she came to the US, and she still has it. She's not upgraded. She decided, I'm going to keep that. She stayed in the same place, in the same apartment for like 12 years or something like that. She didn't move, and just anything that she made, she just moved it into buying land, which is now what made her build her empire, of land, business. So what is this thing that makes us want to increase the costs of living for our own selves instead of saving?
Okay, so first of all, I'll go back to the Kenyan story of rural bred. Like I was rural bred, right? We lived up in the rural areas, majority of Kenyans, right? You used to see maybe your neighbors with wealth, driving cars or eating bread and all that. You couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You come here, now you can afford it, and you can afford it for your family too, right? So you want to move into that class. You're like, oh, I can drive a Mercedes, actually. You want to drive a Mercedes or a Range Rover or what's it called? This electric car.
Tesla.
I'll drive a Tesla. You just want to drive good stuff. And then you're like, this house is too small. I'll tell you, I live in a 4-bedroom house. I find it too small. I'm like, oh, I can get a big house. Maybe you want a house with a swimming pool. Then maybe you get a house with a swimming pool. And then you're like, oh, maybe I need a house with a basketball court.
Okay, so hold it right there. I hear where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And just to maybe take it back to that same conversation with Anne Mwai, she says that you can have all of those things, but probably, okay, so you're living this through your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Those big houses and the swimming pools and all of that. But then she says that her idea is that you should and can retire at 45 or 55 earlier than your dad retired.
Yeah.
If you maintain this lifestyle for the next this long, save up, invest. In fact, invest, like whatever it is that comes on top, invest it. So you acquire land, not necessarily to build on, but acquire land that you can sell, that you can convert into an investment. It gives you profit. And so you will have made enough money prior to the 55 or the 65 years that we all think is the time that we should retire. And so we can retire at 45, travel the world with energy and all of that. What do you think about that?
You know, the motivation of acquiring material stuff always is there, right? And some people want to acquire material stuff, but at the same time live a poor life or live kind of like they don't have anything. And I don't see if there is any benefit to that, because if you have money right now and you can afford to live in a good house, my friend, do it now. There is never right time to do anything. I mean, let tomorrow take care of itself.
I'm here with Musa Wasike. Yeah. I would love for you to come to studio someday, or maybe we are going to podcast with you remotely, wherever you're going to be, with Musa Wasike over here, so we can have this conversation about when do we do what. Because I heard what you said, and it's really, really good. And I hear what he's saying, and this balance is something that we all need to probably have. Because to some of us, we feel like maybe when we are old, we won't even have energy to enjoy all this investment that we've had. Like the stages in life we'll have passed where we're able to experience the utamu ya maisha at that age.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so just enjoy it. If you can fly first class right now. You know, I mean, this is what I used to say with my friend.
Wananchi, I don't know what you guys think about this. Please bring in your comments. Okay. Let me hear what you have to say about this.
Let me tell you. I mean, so there's a friend of mine whom we used to joke around with him at work about not enjoying the good life right now because you are saving to enjoy later in life, or because you want, to accumulate a lot of material stuff right now so that you can spend in the future. And I was telling him, like, hey, look, if you died today, of course, nobody wants to die. Nobody's going to die. But if you die today and your wife gets the insurance, she'll be flying first class with who? Maybe if she gets married again, she'll be flying first class with somebody else on your dime that you never flew first class. That's just how life is. Life is very unfair. So if you can fly first class with your wife today,
right,
that's what you really need to do. Save for future. I'm not discouraging people, you should not save and invest for future. But if you can live your best life today, live it so that one day, even if you don't have, you'll say, I lived my best life at that moment. Right now, I don't have. Because what if tomorrow you don't have, you wake up, how the world is changing. Wars, floods, let's say right now in Kenya, floods and all that. Let's say you have invested, right? Let's say you've built houses or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's say I have 10 houses in this country, for example. Let me say that. So I'm hustling every day, not living the best of my life because I'm paying my mortgages and all that, saying in the future, I'll enjoy this. God forbid, a war breaks out and everybody has to leave the country. You lost everything.
Well, yeah.
When will you ever enjoy? When we leave the country and have enjoyed, I might live with those memories like, hey, man, you know what? I really had the time of my life.
You lived on the hope that things will be fine, but hey.
Of course, we live on the hope that things will be fine.
Yeah.
But let's enjoy the moment. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Why do you really want to really take care of tomorrow when tomorrow is not even here yet?
I want to put a stop to this for today. We're going to have Musa Wasike over some time again. I feel we can't exhaust this in one sitting. And of course, so for now, let's put a hold on to this. Remember, if you're here for the first time, subscribe, like, share, and please put a comment. What do you think about these conversations about work-life balance? How much do you need? How much is enough? All that shebang. Let's talk about it
Yeah.
in the next conversation.
TCTV 1 USA.